Top 10 space agencies in the world. Top 10 space agencies in the world. While astronomers use ground-based telescopes to undertake most space-related research, physical exploration is done by both spaceflight and autonomous unmanned space probes. The primary goal of space travel is to advance scientific research, bring diverse countries together, and ensure humanity's long-term survival. A space race between the United States and the Soviet Union fueled the early era of space exploration, the 1950s. Many countries now have their very own space programs that operate under a set of regulations and standards. And over 70 government space agencies, as well as a slew of commercial firms, are now involved in space research. In relation to the achievement, capability, and annual budget, a handful of them are well ahead of the rest. 1. National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA. NASA has pioneered peaceful space exploration for more than 6 decades, discovering new things about planet, neighboring worlds, solar energy, galaxies, and our cosmos. It's a separate entity that isn't part of any executive branch and directly reports to the President of the United States. NASA has spearheaded most U.S. space exploration endeavors since its creation, including the space station, the Space Shuttle, a largely reusable low-Earth orbital spaceship, and the most famous human spaceflight program, the Apollo lunar landing missions. Most of us are familiar with NASA's work, but we have no idea how much it accomplishes. There are 4 mission directorates that make up NASA. Aeronautics Research for Advanced Aviation Technology Development. The study of the origins and evolution of the Earth, solar energy, and the cosmos as a whole. Space technology is used to research and create space exploration technologies and science. Human exploration and operations is in charge of managing human space programs, such as those to the International Space Station, ISS, liftoff operations, space communications, and transportation. The Johnson Spaceport, JPL, Goddard Space Flight Plaza, and Langley Laboratories are among the research centers that are linked with NASA. More than 200 human flights have been launched successfully by the organization, and more than 70 projects are now in the works. 2. China National Space Administration, CNSA. The China National Space Agency is in charge of planning and executing all national space missions, as well as negotiating government space research agreements. Unlike the other space groups around the globe, CNSA is not affiliated with the International Space Station. Has its own mini space station, in fact. It also conducts regular launches on its own, thanks to a series of expendable launch vehicles known as Long March. They have performed numerous human space missions since 2003, with 11 Chinese astronauts having gone to space so far. A 3-astronaut crew on board Shenzhou 9 docked the first spacecraft in space in 2012, attaching it to the Tiangong-1 prototype space station. CNSA successfully accomplished the first soft moon landing in 2014 with Change 3, its first robot lunar lander and rover. Aside from that, China successfully conducted an anti-satellite experiment on its computers in 2007. 3. European Space Agency, ESA. The European Space Agency, ESA, is a 22-nation international organization. The agency may handle activities and initiatives much beyond the limits of any single European nation by bringing together all members' intellectual and financial assets. The European Space Agency, ESA, is a significant supporter of the International Space Station. It has been active in the autonomous exploration of moon missions and other planets, telecommunications, launch vehicle development, and Earth monitoring since its founding. Ariane, the agency's own launch system, has undergone several phases of development during the last 4 decades. ESA-built spacecraft and equipment have visited a variety of planets in the Solar System, notably Mars Express and Cassini, produced in partnership with NASA, which was orbiting Saturn as well as its moons until 2004. Rosetta, an ESA space probe, captured close-up images of Meteor 67P, Churyumov-Gerasimenko, and launched a lander to the surface. Its satellite telescope Gaia is mapping billions of celestial objects with unparalleled precision right now. Venus Express, which is regularly sending information from its polar orbit above Venus, LISA Pathfinder, which is exploring gravitational waves, as well as the James Webb Space Telescope are three more notable recent initiatives, led by NASA. The agency is actively planning missions for Jupiter, JUICE, and Mercury, Bepi Colombo, as well as projects to explore dark matter and observe an energetic universe, Athena, Euclid. They're also working on the next iteration of the Galileo satellite navigation system. 4. Russian Federal Space Agency, Roscosmos. Roscosmos is Russia's central coordination hub for any and all types of space activity. It engages in a variety of civilian tasks, such as astronaut projects and Earth monitoring, and organizes military launches with Russian Federation's Defense Ministry. A renationalized Russian space sector, as well as the United Rocket as well as Space Corporation, are merged to establish a national Roscosmos state corporation. The country's contribution to space technology, on the other hand, predates these events. Between 1955 and 1965, the former Soviet space program achieved a number of world numbers ones, including the first artificial Earth satellite, Sputnik 1, the first man, Yuri Gagarin, as well as woman, Valentina Tereshkova, in universe.The, and the very first spaceflight to carry and over each crewman into orbit, Voskhod 1, so the first spacecraft to attain the Moon's vicinity, Luna 1. Roscosmos was founded at a radically different age, shortly after Soviet Union program ended. Now, the organization undertakes its own spacecraft missions, such as GLONASS navigation satellites, telecommunications satellites, and military satellites, as well as providing launch services to other countries. It also devotes a tiny percentage of its resources to the International Space Station. In conjunction with ESA, Roscosmos is now working just on the ExoMars project, which aims to detect signs of life on Mars. They're also working on a completely robotic lunar station called Lunar Globe, which will launch in the early 2020s. 5. Indian Space Research Organisation, ISRO. In pursuing planetary exploration including space science research, the Indian Space Research Organisation uses space technology for national development. On a national and international level, they have carried out a number of big operations. The agency operates a constellation comprising multifunctional geostationary satellites, INSAT, including remote sensing satellites, IRS, to meet the country's rising communications and Earth observation needs. It also creates application-specific satellite products and tools to enhance weather forecasting, navigation, GIS, telemedicine, and other search and rescue operations. ISRO is noted for its low-cost, high-reliability launch systems. The Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle was used to launch India's first lunar probe in 2008. PSLV-XL rocket. The project was anticipated to cost only $54 million. They successfully launched a spacecraft into Martian orbit for the first time in 2014. This expedition cost $75 million in total, making this the most cost-effective Mars mission ever. Using PSLV-C-37, ISRO set a global record in 2017 by launching 104 satellites in one go. Because of their achievements, the government increased ISRO's annual budget by 23%. Reusable launch vehicles, single-phase and two-orbital vehicles, semi-cryogenic engines, or human spaceflight projects are all in the works at NASA. 6. SpaceX. Nobody would have believed a private company could compete with government space agencies a decade ago. However, the crew at SpaceX has genuinely altered people's minds with their ambition, dedication, and hard work. The business has reached a number of milestones that no other private space agency is still yet to achieve. In 2008, the first privately sponsored liquid-fueled rocket, Falcon 1, was launched into orbit. The first private corporation to deploy a spacecraft to the International Space Station, Dragon, in 2012. An orbiting rocket makes its first propulsive landing, Falcon 9, in 2015. An orbital rocket has been successfully reused for the first time, Falcon 9, in 2017. SpaceX is now regarded as the largest successful American aerospace manufacturer and provider of space transportation services. Their main goal is to cut the cost and increase the reliability of space access by a factor of 10. Elon Musk, CEO, unveiled the architecture mission of a Mars Transport System program in 2016. He unveiled an improved system configuration, now known as the Big Falcon rocket. A year later, BFR. It will be the world's largest and totally reusable rocket, with a launch date in the early 2020s. In 2022, the business hopes to launch 2 unmanned cargo ships on Mars using BFR. They want to send 4 more ships to Mars in 2014, including the first humans. 7. Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, JAXA. JAXA was created as a key performance agency that supports the Japanese government's overall aerospace development. Its integrated operations range from basic R&D to execution. It's working on a number of sophisticated missions, including satellite launches, manned moon exploration, and asteroid research. They've worked on satellites for various government entities. A cross-transport satellite 1R was launched in 2005 for weather observation. The second edition of this satellite was launched a year later to assist in air traffic control. They've also recently launched Kenya's first low Earth orbit satellite. Global Precipitation Measurement Corps, Aqua Earth Science Satellite, and Tropical Rainfall Measuring Mission are all ongoing initiatives with NASA. The main objective of JAXA has remained communication technology testing. They stated in 2018 that they will work with Sony to research a light communication system developed by the Kibo ISS module. 8. German Aerospace Center, DLR. The German Aerospace Center works in the fields of space, aeronautics, transportation, energy, security, and digitalization. It not only conducts its own missions but also plans and administers the German federal government's space industry. The agency is developing ultra-efficient, low carbon dioxide power production technologies, as well as solar thermal energy generation and other renewable energy sources. They are sustaining mobility, conserving resources, safeguarding the environment, and improving transportation safety in the sector of transportation. Galileo, the worldwide navigation satellite system, Mars Express, and the RadarSat mission are just a few of the notable undertakings. They will perform research in areas such as propulsion technologies and satellite development, including space mission concepts in the next years. 9. Italian Space Agency, ASI. Despite the fact also that the Italian Space Agency was founded in 1988, it depended heavily on the expertise of numerous qualified Italian scientists as well as earlier state organizations. They conducted their first large satellite project, BEPO-SAX, in 1996 to study the universe in X-rays. Later, Cassini-Huygens, Mars Express, Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, Venus Express, Juno, as well as XMM Newton were among the main international space exploration missions on which the agency worked. Human spaceflight activities have also been undertaken by the Italian space industry. The shuttle multi-purpose logistics module cargo containers are critical for storing and transporting instruments to the International Space Station. Currently, the agency is indeed a partner in the European Space Agency's Ariane 5 heavy lift launch vehicle program, which can deliver a cargo of over 11,000 kilograms to geostationary polar orbit. 10. National Centre for Space Studies, France. The French Space Agency is primarily concerned with 5 areas: civil space applications, space access, technology and science research, sustainable development, and security, and military.